Have you ever paused to consider what the world might look like if the most underestimated continent on Earth suddenly began leading the charge in global innovation? Well, here's the truth. It's already happening, right now in 2025, and yet most of the world hasn't caught on. It's not trending on global headlines. It's not being celebrated on tech stages in Silicon Valley or Berlin. But make no mistake, Africa is rising, and the innovation is unlike anything we've seen before. Welcome back, family. Today, we're diving deep into a story that's being buried beneath layers of global indifference, corporate suppression, and media silence. What we're about to uncover will challenge everything you think you know about where revolutionary ideas are born. We're talking about real African innovation, not remixed versions of Western tech, not copy and paste solutions. These are homegrown, ground-up inventions that are redefining what's possible. Let's start with something that many Africans know too well: the paradox of owning land rich in resources, only to be stripped of it the moment that wealth is discovered. In most countries, Africa included, if oil is found on your property, it's no longer your property. The government steps in. You lose the land. It's a universal clause buried in legislation that puts state interest above individual ownership. But now, just in the span of a few months, from January to today, Africans have flipped the narrative. We're not waiting for handouts or partnerships that benefit outsiders more than us. We're not simply improving existing Western tech. We are building our own from scratch. And guess what? By the end of this year, I'll be bringing you another video, because the pace of innovation isn't slowing down, it's accelerating. Let's zoom in on one particular breakthrough. Imagine a continent where more than 600 million people, nearly twice the population of the United States, live without reliable electricity. Now imagine that same continent creating a way to generate power, not from fossil fuels, not from massive dams or expensive solar grids, but from something as simple and abundant as plants. Let that sink in. This isn't just innovation. This is liberation. No centralized grid, no toxic emissions, no colonial dependency on imported fuel. Just clean, self-sustaining energy straight from the soil. A solution born in Africa and for the world. So why hasn't the global investment community flooded in to back it? Why aren't tech journalists raving about this? The answer gets even more uncomfortable when we get to the next story. Let's talk about Maxwell Chikumbutso, a self-taught genius from Zimbabwe. This man dared to defy the laws of physics, or so the world thought. He developed a vehicle powered not by gas, not by electricity, but by radio frequencies. You heard that right. His invention converts ambient radio waves into usable energy. No refueling, no recharging. Just perpetual motion. And it's not just theory. It works. Fully functional cars and bikes. No emissions. No noise. No fossil fuels. Just pure innovation. At first, he was mocked. Experts dismissed it. It's a hoax, they said. It violates the laws of thermodynamics. But then the car kept running, and people started paying attention. Even Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa backed the technology, recognizing its potential to revolutionize transportation, and more importantly, to position Zimbabwe as a global leader in clean energy. But this is where the story gets dark. Reports claim that when Maxwell took his invention to the United States to present it to a wider audience, an attempt was made to poison him. Now, while this has yet to be independently verified, the mere existence of such claims is enough to raise serious questions. Why would anyone want to silence a man who could change the world for the better? Because the implications of his invention go far beyond cars. The same system can power homes, businesses, even entire communities, generating up to 15 kilowatts of energy independently. That's not just innovation. That's disruption. Disruption to billion-dollar fuel companies. Disruption to national energy monopolies. Disruption to everything we've been told is normal. Now ask yourself, what happens to oil empires when vehicles no longer need fuel? What happens to power companies when every home can generate its own electricity? What happens to global control structures when energy independence becomes a reality? And most importantly, why isn't anyone in the mainstream media asking these questions? It's time to shift the lens. Africa is not a continent waiting to be saved. It's a continent full of brilliant minds already saving themselves. The future isn't coming from Silicon Valley or Wall Street. It's rising from Harare, from Accra, from Lagos, from Kigali. So, what do you think? Are we witnessing the rebirth of Africa as a global tech powerhouse? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're still here watching, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because these are the stories the world needs to hear. 4 groundbreaking innovations, 4 different countries, 1 remarkable continent. From mind-controlled prosthetics in Kenya to an HIV-cured trial in South Africa, from plant-based electricity in the Congo to self-powering vehicles in Zimbabwe, these are not isolated breakthroughs. Each of them, on its own, would be a major scientific milestone. But together, they signal something much bigger, a continental shift, a rising wave of ingenuity that's positioning Africa not just as a player, but as a leader in global innovation. And this isn't a coincidence. There's a clear pattern emerging, one that tells us something profound about African innovation in 2025. Each of these innovations tackles something fundamental. Not luxury, not convenience, but survival, dignity, humanity. While tech hubs in the West chase the next viral app or a slightly smarter device, Africa is innovating for the billions still left out of the global promise of progress. Think about it. Giving mobility to the disabled, pushing toward an actual cure for HIV, generating clean electricity from plants in regions long abandoned by national grids, creating cars that run without fuel, making transport affordable and accessible for everyone. And these breakthroughs aren't coming despite limited resources. They're happening because of them. When resources are scarce, waste isn't an option. Innovation must be practical, resilient, and universally accessible. This is not about cutting edge for the elite. It's about solutions for the masses. That's what makes this moment in African history so powerful. These are not just inventions. They represent a new philosophy of progress. One that puts human needs over market demands. One that prioritizes impact over profit. So here's the burning question. Why isn't the world paying attention? The answer lies in a narrative that's been fed to us for generations. One where innovation flows only in one direction. From north to south. From west to east, from the developed world to the developing. This isn't just outdated, it's dangerous. It's a power structure disguised as a story. A structure that casts Africa as a consumer of ideas, not a creator. But when Africa steps into the role of innovator, that structure begins to shake. And make no mistake, these breakthroughs are threatening the status quo. Kenya's affordable prosthetics, a direct challenge to a $20 billion medical device industry. South Africa's HIV trials. They question the necessity of lifelong dependence on billion-dollar pharmaceutical products. Congo's plant-powered energy. A potential disruption to centralized energy monopolies and fossil fuel investments. Zimbabwe's self-powering vehicles. A threat not just to oil, but to the trillion-dollar automotive ecosystem built on fuel and batteries. This is why these innovations are kept out of the headlines. But here's what's changed in 2025. Africa no longer needs permission. It no longer needs validation. With continental trade agreements like the CFTA, growing investment from the African diaspora, and stronger South-South alliances, Africa is building its own infrastructure for innovation to thrive and scale. So let's reframe the conversation. The question is no longer if Africa can lead in innovation. It already is. The real question is, when will the rest of the world finally catch up to this reality? The next time someone talks about developing Africa, maybe ask this instead: what can the world learn from Africa about innovation that truly matters? Because today, the answers to our most pressing global challenges aren't coming from sleek corporate boardrooms in the West. They're coming from backyard garages in Zimbabwe, community gardens in the Congo, university labs in South Africa, and makeshift workshops in Kenya. This is more than an African moment. It's a global turning point. Now, tell me, which one of these innovations blew your mind the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you know someone who still thinks Africa is only a consumer of technology, share this video with them. Because the future is being written in places the world never expected. See you in our next video. Stay inspired. The revolution is real.